We want you to stop reacting so much to what's going on. You may have, if you've been listening to us for a while, and some of you have, you may remember us saying to you that most people offer most of their vibration in response to what they're observing. So you're out there observing stuff and creating a grid. And your human, logical mind wants to say, well, Abraham, there are all of these truths that I am aware of. And isn't it prudent for me to observe and sift through and focus upon these truths? And we say, but can you hear the backward nature of that? What you're actually saying is, Abraham, there's stuff that people have got going on with their grids that is manifesting in a way that I can see it. So since they created it and their grid filled in with it, shouldn't I observe it? And we say, yes, if you want your grid to fill in with it. If you like what you see, give it your undivided attention. If you don't want it, turn the other cheek. If you don't want it, give your attention to something else. If you don't want it, create your own grid. And so most humans, it's sort of a cry that's coming from humanity these days. Abraham, we hear you. Abraham, Abraham, we hear you saying, Abraham, I don't get this. How in the world can I offer a vibration apart from what I am observing? And we say, go general. Go general. That's what meditation does for you. That's what petting your cat does for you. That's what caring about how you feel does for you. In other words, you just have to decide that you're going to connect with that basic core grid of well-being. And when you do, have you heard us say, surely you have, because we say it all the time, that one who's in alignment with who you are is more powerful than millions who are not. One who's connected to the stream is more powerful than millions who are not. One who's in the vortex is more powerful, more attractively powerful than millions who are not. In other words, you just have to experience the leverage of alignment. So today we're explaining to you that the reason that power, that clarity, that point of attraction comes on so strong and so clearly is that when you line up with that core grid, when you line up with the well-being that you were born with, when you line up with the vortex version of you, when you line up with the energy of the source within you and all that you've been asking for, when you line up with that, heaven and earth and all things in between begin moving in the direction of that which you are. In other words, your grid starts filling in. And people that don't understand vibration, people that don't understand attention and focus, people who don't understand that you've been doing vortex work and grid work, people who are watching from the outside would call you the lucky one. How come you always get that parking place right in front of the door? Why do people always treat you so well? Why do things always go so well for you? Why do you barely define that you want something and things start moving? Why do the good ideas come to you? Why do the great song lyrics come to you? Why do the great paintings flow through your fingertips? Why do the scientific equations occur to you and not to that one and that one who works far longer and far harder and stays up all night more often? How come you seem lazy to me, they'll say. You don't seem like you're working that hard. You don't seem like you're suffering at all. You don't seem like you're paying the price. You don't seem like you have earned it. You do not feel to me as if you deserve it, and yet all good things come to you. Why is that, they want to know. But your answer will fall on deaf ears, because you cannot give them the answer they seek, because they still believe that it's hard work and struggle. They still believe that it's paying a price. They do not understand that it's about alignment with the core goodness that you were born with, that will always be there for you, you see. And that's what we wish for you. When we talk about the art of allowing, we're talking about you finally figuring out a way to get your attention off of the things that are troubling and on the things that aren't. And in the beginning, that means there's going to be a lot of quiet time, because a lot of your grids are activated because you've been fussing over that and fussing over that and fussing over that and fussing over that and fussing over that. You got to stop fussing and start focusing on something really general. When we say to you, you cannot create in someone else's reality, it sounds a little bit like we're trying to get you to create in their reality. What we want you to do is to exercise your ability to know who they really are over and above what they are demonstrating in that moment. If you can get a grid going before you even begin to engage, you have a better probability of engaging with them from the core of who they are. But let's say that happens and you have some really good discussions and you can feel that they're exhilarated and they like the idea of personal empowerment, and then off they go. Now your work is to envision them understanding it. Whatever grid is dominant in a rendezvousing moment will most likely win over the moment and be dominant.
Yes.
So the time to do the grid work is not in the middle of the momentum of the grid filling in. Did you get that? Because you got a grid going on and so do they, and somehow you kick into place with it, and now you've got this grid going on and it's filling in, it's filling in, it's filling in, and that's not the time to do the grid work. And you know that any other thing doesn't work either. Mm-hmm. It's the time to acknowledge that you want to do grid work at a time when the red mist has subsided a little bit. But this is not the time for action. If you're having an experience with someone and it's not going the way you want it to, and you continue the conversation, do you know what you're doing to the grid? You're just shoring up a grid, and you're making sure that that's going to be the basis of the relationship that you have with that person until one of you does something different with your grid. Doesn't that make sense to you?
Yes.
And so the best thing to do is to just walk away from it and recognize that this is not the time to do anything about it. And then do your grid work, because if you don't do some grid work, next time you rendezvous, it will be on the same basis, because your vibration about every subject in the world, every person in the world, every subject in the world is right where you last left it, you see.
Yes.
It doesn't take much to change momentum. Just don't try to change it in the middle of the momentum.
Makes sense. Okay, perfect.
Don't you like that? Do you know the reason that you go to sleep at night? We love you so much. Is to stop the momentum. That's what slumber is about. It stops the momentum. Because while you sleep, you stop the spewing. And when you stop the spewing, the grids kind of all just find their place. And when you awaken, you could start with a grid. You could meditate. You could get a really good grid going. You could appreciate. You could get a really good grid going. You could make lists of positive aspects. You could get a really good grid going. You could get some really good grids going, and your day will play out depending upon the grid you've got going. Or you could just sort of move into your day, and you could let the first thing that you observe set the tone of your grid. It will come, it will be active, and the momentum is there. You call it off on the wrong foot or getting out on the wrong side of the bed. We call it lazy grid. Lazy grid. Helpful?
Yes. Thank you.
Very good.